San Antonio, Texas. She worked there until the 1930s. She was part of a museum for a while. She was a chicken coop at one time. A lady lived in her for a while. When we found her, she was in the Trolley graveyard in Gales Creek, Oregon. We got her out of there in 1998. It took 18 months and 3,000 labor hours to put her in this condition. We've been running 24 years now, all by volunteers. Len is your motorman. My name is Ann, and we'll take you out. And we're out till 4 o'clock today. You're in Finntown, also called Uniontown. This is where the early Finn settlers came. On your right is Suomi Hall. That's the Finnish Brotherhood. They still hold monthly meetings there. Still a very large Scandinavian population. We're going right under the Astoria Megler Bridge. Completed in 1966. It took 5 years to build that bridge. It was originally called the Bridge to Nowhere. Look at the end of that bridge. There's no town over there. There's a mountain called Megler. And you still have to drive 10 miles left or right to get to a town of any size. Ilwaco, Chinook, or maybe Nassau.
Oh. Okay mo lang.
He's helping with the narration.
So noisy. She wants to look at the view.
Yes, I heard. So you want to step out? Is it okay for us to leave the car right there, you think? Well, is it locked? Yes. Is it locked? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's okay, you just read a story. That's okay.
No, okay, now I have to lock it.
Yeah.
Step up this way.
Mary, I'm going to have to make sure it's locked. I'm sorry, we're crazy. We do not know what we're doing.
You open the door. Thank you.
It's okay, no worries.
We didn't know we were.
No worries.
Okay, you want to jump? Well, that side's probably
Yeah, where are we going actually? And can we get back? I should probably ask.
While we're sitting here for just a minute, that mountain over there is called Megler. Megler was one of our first Washington state legislators, so he slapped his name on the mountain, got his name on the bridge too. There was originally a toll on that bridge. A 50-year bond was set to pay for that bridge. It was paid off in 28 years with a $1.50 toll one way. So it paid off much earlier and cost $24 million to build back in the 60s. They've since repainted it a couple times. They've rebolted that. I'm sure they wish they still had the toll on that bridge because the repainting and bolting was more than the $24 million. But they kept the toll off, so we're happy about that. 3,000 cars a day use that bridge now back and forth to Washington State, so it gets plenty of use.
Does she have to wear this? Either one. She'll wear it.
Oh, we can take a picture.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
I can't see.
All right, hold on. We're gonna take off here.
I was just grabbing what I could.
Are you the photographer? Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We're about to go over water, and I have to remind you, because it's a maritime law, that should this trolley go in the water, what are the chances, right? But your life preserver's the person sitting next to you. I'll guarantee Len and I will not go down with the trolley. We're not captains of the trolley. You'll find us on the shore. Len's going to have some explaining to do. On your left, all these pilings that you see in the water here on your left, these represented canneries, 18 huge canneries just on the lower Columbia River. Back in the late 1800s, we were the salmon capital of the world, and 18 canneries were running full-time out here. You're coming into the Fort George compound here. All these warehouses belong to the Fort George Brewery. They store their equipment and their empty aluminum cans here waiting to be filled. In that black building ahead and to your right is where they do the canning. 12-hour shifts, 2 lines are running in there 5 days a week trying to keep us satisfied here. They only ship to the Pacific Northwest, so if you want to try Fort George, there's only a 5-state area you can get that in. Their restaurant is up on 15th Street. If you look to your left, way across to Washington State, you see two little white buildings over there? That is near Napkin Cove, Washington, the Ellis Island of the Columbia River. Back in 1892, Congress said every immigrant ship shall be inspected. And it was run very much like Ellis Island. As the ships would come in there, the immigrants would be offloaded. If the immigrants were deemed to be healthy, they were allowed to continue into their new country. Eventually, a hospital was placed over there to aid those immigrants. The blackbirds you see on your left out there on the pilings, those are cormorants. Those are cormorants. Cormorants are unique in that they can actually swim underwater for a period of time, but they have very little oil in their wings. So you'll see them out on the pilings, usually with their wings splayed open trying to dry out. On your right is Josephson smoked fish. Been in the family over 100 years. They smoke all kinds of seafood in there. They have great lunches, clam chowder and smoked seafood until 3 o'clock every day, but they're open till 5 or 6. They ship all over the world from that little bitty store. They'll give you samples of anything they have, too. We're going to stop here at 3rd Street. When the Great Northern Railroad used these very tracks, they would stop here because there was a big cannery on your left. Today there's a big condominiums here on your left. And Leonard and I talk to each other with bells. So 2 bells from me, 2 bells from him means we're all ready to go. Lots of movies were filmed here in Astoria. Kindergarten Cop, Short Circuit, Free Willy 1 and 2, The Goonies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #3, Into the Wild, Come to the Paradise, Black Stallion, Benji the Hunted, among many others. The very first movie was called The Runaway Bride, a silent picture in 1908, and a very famous actor got his start here. In the 1920s, he was with the Astoria Repertory Theater. By 1939, he was the star of Gone with the Wind. Clark Gable got his start here in little old Astoria, and we milk that for all it's worth. There is a plaque in his honor up on 13th Street. He was a lumberjack before that, so I think he had a good upgrade there. On your left, that little red roof building is the Astoria River Viewing Station. Look out in the river, you see the green buoy? That's the far side of the channel. Our channel is 600 feet wide, and we keep it dredged at 43 feet to accommodate any ship we would get in here. On your right, up a couple blocks, there's a 2-story gray building. That is the Oregon Film Museum, but it's also the opening scene in the Goonies movie. When the bad guys break out of the little jail, they set fire to the parking lot and go racing around Astoria. That's the jail they break out of. That was our jail till the 1960s. But if you go in there, you can make some movies using props from movies that were filmed here, have them downloaded to your email, and watch them when you get home. It's great fun at the Oregon Film Museum. Also up there on 8th Street on your right, up a couple blocks, is the Captain George Flavel House. It's an 1885 Queen Anne style Victorian mansion. You watch a short movie about Captain George, who was our first licensed bar pilot here, and then you can walk through his beautiful mansion and carriage house. That is on 8th Street. We're crossing 8th Street right now. Take a look up 8th Street. That is the steepest street we have here in Astoria. So steep that if you're in a big truck, you will get high centered up there. And the sidewalks become stair steps to get you up there. And there's many of our roads up the hill where the sidewalks are stairs to get you up the hill. On your left is the Bowline Hotel, very beautiful hotel, only open for a year or two. Every room is on the river with a balcony. We're at 9th Street. One bell means we're going to stop. That's what we're going to do right here at 9th Street.
Oh, my arm did.
One clarification. Yes, the Captain House, you get to it from 8th Street.
It's on 8th Street, yes, so you can go up 8th Street. It's only a couple blocks, you don't have to go up the
You're 2 cents for a dinner.
It's like you might be a Pomeranian spot. I like the first one.
Look to your left, way across the water. You see what looks like a sandbar way out there? That is not a sandbar, it's an island. It's an ash island. It's called Rice Island. Now, Mount St. Helens, the volcano, is about 100 miles from here. And when she erupted in 1980, she spewed ash and debris and trees and all kinds of nonsense into the river. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was tasked with clearing that debris. They had to haul it somewhere. They made islands. And the islands are hard as a rock. The ash is not blowing anywhere. In fact, birds nest out there. But that's some of the innards of Mount St. Helens out there on that island. So you're at 11th Street now. We make several stops down through town here just for safety measures. On your right, that red building with the green trim, that's the Astoria Brewing Company. If you visit with your dog can dine with you out on the patio. The dog has a menu as well. Dog can dine out. Very dog-friendly city here. You'll see dog dishes, water dishes everywhere. Feed the pups. If you spend any time on the Riverwalk at all, you'll see just about every breed of dog walk by. On your left is the Sea Crab House. Then the restaurant out towards the tracks. We have an Italian restaurant called Feta, which is for dinners only, here on your left. Let's take a peek to your left. See if the pilot boat is there. There it is, the pilot boat tucked in there. That's the boat that takes the pilots to the big ships. More about that in just a minute. But that's the ship they use. Coming up on your right is the tallest building we have here. You're going to be amazed. 8 stories tall. There it is. It's the Astoria Hotel, built in the 1920s. Very luxurious in its day with running water and electricity and a big ballroom on the first floor. Do you want me to check? Oh yeah, we're good. Sometimes these cars get a little close to the yellow line, so we double check, get ourselves through here. The Astor Hotel was as luxurious as the Waldorf Astor in New York City. Same Astor family. It's an apartment building today. On your left, this is where the ferry used to dock before the big bridge was completed. We had 6 round trips a day back and forth to Washington State, and this is where they would dock. And we're going to stop here at 14th Street.
Ano ma'am?
Nabangat talaga yun.
Mabuti na maaga tayo. Ha? Oo, kuha ko nun. Pag-alis na.
I might need to go there soon.
All right, on your left is housing for our river pilots. Remember I mentioned that little boat takes pilots out to the ship. Now every ship that uses our river has a river pilot on board, and every ship that crosses the bar, the mouth of the river, has a bar pilot on board. Those men and women work 20 days on, 20 off, so there's of course housing and transportation here for them. Very lucrative work, very dangerous work. Those ships don't stop to take those pilots on board. They jump to whatever ladder is extended to them, day, night, storm, calm, doesn't matter. And if you want that job, you better come with a very thick resume. It's a very tough job to get. Years and years as a ship captain. On your left is Moe's Chowder House. That's a chain restaurant up and down the Oregon coast. On your right is the Nordic Heritage Park. If you get a chance to walk through this little park, do so. You can take some selfies with the trolls out there. Very cute. It took 6 years to develop, and they just opened it a year ago, June. It gives you a good understanding of who our settlers were, which were the Scandinavians. So it's quite an elaborate, small park. Very cute. Our next stop is the Maritime Museum. If you have a couple hours, we can highly recommend this museum. This is also the home of our Coast Guard, and we're one of 29 U.S. official Coast Guard stations. On your left is the Steadfast. That's one of our ships. It's a 210-foot medium endurance cruiser. It was commissioned in 1968, been on the job quite a long time. Its sister ship, the Alert, is out on a mission right now, but we're very proud to have the Coast Guard here. When those young men and women are even off duty when they're in town, they're doing service around town. It's very proud of them. We're going to stop here.
Trolley buttons. Youth t-shirts. Embroidered ball cuts. My shirt, so my t-shirt, my t-shirt.
On your left is the Columbia Lightship, that red-hulled ship. That is the last floating lighthouse stationed near the mouth of the Columbia River. For your price of admission to museum, you also get to go on board the Columbia Lightship. On your right, look way up on the hill, on your right is Coxcomb Hill. There's the Astoria column. It is 125 feet tall, built in 1926. There are 164 spiral stair steps that will take you to the catwalk. On a clear day, you can see Mount St. Helens, you can see Tillamook Head. Even if you don't climb to the top, off the back side of there, you can see a wonderful view of the Lewis and Clark River Valley. There's etchings all the way up the column illustrating Northwest history, very well done. It was built by the Astor family along with the Great Northern Railroad. On your right, that orange and green boat, that's the Peacock. It's a retired bar pilot boat. Has had 35,000 crossings of the bar before it retired. The little boat in back is called a daughter boat. That's the boat that would scurry up alongside the big ships to transfer the pilots. That boat was built in Germany. It is a self-righting boat. That is, when the big waves knock it over, it will right itself. That was tested too many times. We're going to stop here. This is the old railroad depot. It's part of the Barbie Maritime Center today. They hold events here, weddings, receptions, reunions, and such. You can rent that space.
Dito ka na ba? Gusto ko nga yung magbakal na lang.
Here, girls, why don't you three sit right here?
Okay, hold on. On the east side of this building is a wood workshop, and you can take classes in there. 1 day, 2 days, sometimes week-long classes depending on what it is you're building, but it's all old school, no power tools in there. You do it old school. To your left to Washington State. That's what 4 miles across a river looks like. We're right at 4 miles here. Give yourself a perspective. The ship you see out there is sitting very high in the water. You can tell it's empty, waiting for its ship orders or cargo or whatnot to arrive. And it will make its way upriver to its port of call. Usually Portland, Vancouver, Longview, Kalama, Woodland, and St. Helens are your major ports of call. On your right, this is the old Astoria Plywood Company, but today it's the Mill Pond Village. There are 85 home sites. No two houses are the same. Some are 2 stories, some are 3. Some have elevators inside, but they share those common characteristics. Steep gabled roofs, the elongated windows, they all have a front porch of some kind. And you're going over a tidal gate right now, which keeps the water in that pond at a set level. It doesn't change with our tides, which can change as much as 12 feet in a day. That pond water doesn't change. They used to float the logs into the pond, mill that lumber, and then that lumber would go out on rail or on barge. Very strict building code, you can see. Very craftsman-style homes. Most are 2 bedrooms, some are 3. The 2 bedrooms are all master, like 2 master bedroom suites. On your left, coming into view, that red building, we call it Big Red. It's an old net drying loft. Back in the day, the fishing nets were very heavy. They were made out of cotton, and they had to be pulled up and out of the boats at night and hung to dry. And that was one such building. That's the last one standing. It had been owned by an artist. He was hoping to make an art gallery out there. But the third story blew away in 2007. Unfortunately, his artwork was on the third story, so that all landed at the bottom of the river. He has since passed away, so we don't know the prognosis of that building. On your right, these are apartments, brand new apartments being built here in Astoria, very much needed, very much overdue here. We have very little room to grow, so this will be quite exciting for some folks. I suspect they'll be rented before they're completed. They've just been stagnant now for a while, so I hope the whole thing hasn't gone away. We got a good start on it. Then we're going to stop at Safeway, please. If you want to do the front door, that's fine. We'll keep our eyes peeled for bald eagles. We have several mating pairs up on the hillside above us. They come down here, usually early morning and evening. They'll sit on these pilings, getting taunted by the seagulls. They don't care for them very much. Oh, yeah, do the front door though, because he's lined you up. Well, we're just going maybe half a mile that way and back, so just 15 minutes and then back in an hour. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
You're in Upper Town. The other end of town was Finn Town. This is Upper Town. This is where your Danes, your Swedes, your Norwegians settled. And if you look to your right through the trees, you may see 5 church steeples. The Scandinavians tended to be Lutheran, but they each had their own language. So there was 5 Lutheran churches just on this end of town. There's still 4 Lutheran churches on this end of town. Still lots of Scandinavian folks here in town. One of the churches was converted into a house, so somebody's home now. Anybody here from California? Oh, good. I have a present for you. You'll love it. We love when Californians come here. This is the Comfort Inn Suites here on your right. And as we get beyond this building, look to your right. That's the Astoria Elementary School up on the hill. If you remember that movie, Kindergarten Cop, that's where it was filmed. Arnold Schwarzenegger was FBI, pretended to be a cop, pretended to be a kindergarten teacher, went on to pretend to be governor of California. That's the guy. The playground was donated to the school as a thank you to the school for the use of their building during the summer. The interiors are all done in Hollywood. Now if you look to your left, there's some California visitors we have. These are California sea lions. These are all male California sea lions. We're going to open the doors here a minute. You can hear them. You can hear them all over town, actually. Hey, little dog, be quiet. Well, they're not too noisy right now. Oh, something stirred them up again. These are all males. I don't know who checks that, but they told me it's all males. They go about 800 pounds apiece. The blonde-headed ones are stellar sea lions. They can go 1,200 pounds apiece. They visit us 10 months of the year, and if you're from California, you're required to take one home with you. We'll crate it up, pick out the one you want, we'll crate it, we'll get it to your hotel or campsite, it's going home with you. Take 2 if you like. They are here 10 months of the year. We will have 1,000 of those. By the end of September, 1,000 perched on every surface here in Astoria. We wish they wouldn't find their way back, but they do. They're in California right now. These boys are all looking for girlfriends down in California in the warm waters. And we refer to these ones as the losers. They come back and they didn't get lucky down in California. They're back here to stay. They'll be here till May. Getting fat and sassy, and they'll try to swim again next June. They eat our salmon. They're very fragrant. They bark 24 hours a day. On your left, that red roof building, that's the last example of a cannery building. We had 18 of those along the river. That's the and that's all we get with them. Well, thank you for being so kind to our trolley. We're 110 years old. We all should look so good at 110. We'll just go back and forth. This is our turnaround, and then the Riverwalk Inn is our other turnaround spot. We just go back and forth. Our route one way is 3.1 miles. And we'll do that today till... Thank you.
Hello.
Is there some right there?
Reverse camera.
There's seal right here.
14 years. Pwede pa rin. 100.
All right, we're just about set, ready to go. The trolleys run all by volunteers, Len and myself. There's about 35 of us that keep Old 300 going. All the maintenance is done by volunteers, and all the track work is done by volunteers. Best volunteer gig in Astoria, though, for sure. But we run solely on that $1 or $2 you gave us. We do run in the black. And that's because of your generosity, and any souvenirs you might want to buy, all that money goes to the trolley. Nobody here takes a salary. On your right, these fishing vessels here are just out of commission. They've been parked there for quite some time. Don't know their story. But there will be sea lions perched on that dock here in another month. Every surface, every jetty, every space will have sea lions on it. We just had a lot of fishing days the last couple days. This whole parking lot on your left was full of trucks and trailers. There's 2 boat launches here. Locals can put their boats in. When you get back from fishing, you can clean up your fish right here in this little cinder block building on your right. There's tables and running water. Take your own fillet knife in there. You see the little boat there underneath it? All that waste goes down a chute. The chute goes into the boat, and then we tote that out in the middle of the river and dump it out. So you go home here with your nice Ziploc bags full of nice fillets. You don't have to wait for a garbage day. It's all gone. The Columbia River is 1,200 miles long. It begins in British Columbia, makes a couple left and right turns, and comes out right here. It is the 7th longest river in the United States, but by volume of water, we are number 2. It was named by Captain Robert Gray. The year was 1792, and he named it the Columbia after his own ship, the Columbia Renaviva. 1803, Thomas Jefferson purchases the Louisiana Territory, doubling the size of the United States, and he hires Captains Lewis and Clark to go explore west of that. Jefferson would like a northwest passage, an easy way to get to the Pacific Ocean for trading purposes. They head out in 1804. Took them 18 months to get out here. They wintered over at a little place called Fort Clatsop. And they brought back some good information, new plants and animals. Some of the new animals they found were the mountain beaver, the grizzly bear, the bighorn sheep, the coyote, and the prairie dogs, which they called barking squirrels. And Thomas Jefferson was okay with all that, but they did not find him an easy way to get to the Pacific. In fact, it was very dangerous, treacherous to get to the Pacific Ocean. But they did find the beautiful sea otters out here. Now, sea otters were all the rage in Europe and Asia. Everybody needed a hat made out of a sea otter pelt. And that got John Jacob Astor pretty darn excited. He was a wealthy trapper and trader in the New England and the Great Lakes area, and he sent 2 groups of men out here to trade with the Clatsop and the Chinook Indians, and the year was 1811. That was the beginning of our town. We were called Fort Astor. Now, he traded with the Indians just 2 years. He sold out to the British in 1813, and the name of the town became Fort George, in honor of King George III of the UK. And that's the name of one of our breweries here in town. That's the connection, Fort George. It went back and forth to British and American control until the Oregon Treaty of 1847 established the boundary between what is now Canada and Washington at the 49th parallel. North became British, South became US, and the name here was changed to Astoria in honor of John Jacob Astor, who never set foot here. Only his fur trapping men did. When he died, he was the wealthiest man in America, having made all his money in trapping and trading. He had come here from Waldorf, Germany with no money in his pockets. And Waldorf, Germany is our sister city with Astoria. That is our connection. Look across the bridge. Good view of the bridge here. Follow the bridge all the way over to Washington. You see the green bridge over there, the raised bridge? That's where the natural channel of the river is. You might say, so what? Well, it's a big deal because that's how they determine state lines. So Washington State starts way over there, 4 miles from here. The shipping channel we use today was man-made. It was dredged in the 1920s, and all the commerce on this portion of the river comes to the Oregon side. Further upriver, the river narrows, and it's more equally divided. On your left, look up on the hillside. Why aren't we building some spectacular houses up there? Do you see the line between the fir trees and the deciduous trees? That's where the landslide was in 1952. That is a watershed. There will be no building on that hillside. So Astoria is really, really in need of space to build. So instead of that, we've taken great care of the houses we do have. We have over 100 on the historic register. We have many in various stages of restoration. If you get a chance to drive up above downtown, look for the plaque at the front door. That will tell you that it's a historic home. And there's many painted ladies, as they're called. When the exterior of the house uses 5 to 10 exterior paint colors, it could be called a painted lady, much like in San Francisco. We're back to the old railroad depot. We will be stopping at the Maritime Museum, and then we still have another 1.5 miles or so to go westbound. Our whole route is 3.1 miles. On your left is the Oregon State University Seafood Research Lab. Next to that is our Aquatic Center. And on your right is one of the American Cruise Line ships. They do a 7-day cruise up the Snake River to Lewiston, Idaho on a 7-day cruise. That's the American Jazz. We saw the paddle wheeler earlier. That was part of the fleet as well. There's about 5 or 6 that use our river, and this is their turnaround spot here. Lots of ports of call up and down the river. On your left, way up on the hillside, there's a cream-colored building. That's our old high school, but it's our Clatsop Community College. There's 4 big buildings connected to the college. Has a great reputation here in the area. On your left, and ahead of the mobile gas station, that yellow building is our Heritage Museum. Beautiful exhibits and displays in there. If you're interested in Northwest history, that's a good starting point. Wonderful bookstore in there as well, but beautiful exhibits. Anybody leaving us here at the Maritime Museum? We'll just put on a few more folks then.
She's staying. We're going to get off my butt.
Magtitingin ako ng mag. Ha?
You put an extra step down. That's what they're for.
Yeah, pero ayaw ko
Step
yung
up the stepping stones.
Oh, yeah, they
That
give me
breaks it in half.
There.
There.
There you go.
There.
That's it. I have an ankle implant. 3.
Yeah, I figured that. Yeah, I guess I'm not waiting for
Sino? Sige. Sige kami tao may tao.
Tatabi na lang kay Kate pa.
Sige.
Alright, got some seats cleared out for you. Thanks so much.
Intindihan mo? Hindi?
And we're back to our Coast Guard cutter here, the Steadfast on your right. Her sister ship, the Alert, is on a mission right now. When they do go out, they're out on 1, 2, or 3 month missions. They take a crew of 35. They go as far as the Central American coast and up to the Canadian coast. On your left, coming into view behind the Custard King, is the only winery we have here. It was run by Mr. Paul Vanderbilt. Made very delicious wine out of fruits other than grapes. He had a cranberry wine, a lemon meringue wine, chocolate orange, and a raspberry wine. He made no wine out of grapes. He won all kinds of awards for his wine. I'm told he is retiring. Perhaps it's for sale. If that's in your future to run a winery, it could be right there. Get his recipes though, because we expect that wine here. You're at 15th Street. On your left, up a block, is the Fort George Restaurant and Brewery. If you're tired of fish, they have a great wood-fired pizza up there. Behind that building is a small replica of Fort Astor from 1811. And we're going to stop here again at 14th Street. This was a scene in the movie Free Willy. They made a fish market right at this intersection. The little boy was buying fish for Willie. Here's our beach. Oh, beautiful, beautiful sand beach. Wonderful, 25 feet of the finest Northwest sand. You can tell, I can hardly come up with